The president claimed in all caps this morning, no collusion. But the Washington Post compiled a list of all the contacts reported between these 14 Trump associates, ranging from family members to campaign officials to business operatives, with these 17 Russians, including former lawmakers. Now, the president's eldest daughter was contacted by a Russian weightlifter in efforts to create a Trump Tower Moscow. She passed him along to Trump's then personal attorney. His eldest son met a former Russian senator at an NRA convention, and a Kremlin-linked lawyer in Trump Tower set up through contacts with an oligarch and his pop star son. The president's son-in-law was also at that meeting. The former personal attorney was in touch with a Russian developer over the Trump Tower Moscow project, as well as Vladimir Putin's personal spokesman and the spokesman's assistant, along with a former legislator and that weightlifter I told you about. A partner in the Moscow work, a New York developer, was also in touch with the Russian property developer and Putin's spokesman. A former Trump campaign aide who pleaded guilty to the special counsel met with a woman falsely described as Putin's niece and a man with Russian foreign ministry connections. Then, the former campaign chair met with the Russian lawyer arranged by the oligarch and his son, and a Russian business partner from the work in Ukraine offered connection to another oligarch. A campaign foreign policy advisor met briefly with the deputy prime minister of Russia and the Russian ambassador to the United States, as did a top surrogate, later the attorney general, and a top advisor, later the president's national security advisor. And yet another campaign advisor met with the aide to that Russian senator that I mentioned. That aide will reportedly be pleading guilty to acting as a foreign agent, and he met with, who else? The Russian ambassador. Another campaign aide was in contact with a Russian businessman offering dirt on Hillary Clinton. He and a longtime Trump confidant met with the businessman, but they say dismissed his offer. And a former campaign aide and protege of the campaign chair had contact with the former business partner, the one with a connection to an oligarch. That's an awful lot of contact.
Smoke, so much smoke.
Just
smoke.
No smoking guns here.
None.
Hey, MSNBC fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there and click on any of the videos here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more MSNBC for free every day with our newsletters. Just visit msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up now.